Somebody once told me that because of the color of my skin and where I grew up,
that I would never be anything.
But I refuse to believe.
I refuse to believe.
I refuse to believe.
But I refuse to believe that I could not achieve.
So I picked up my head and I opened my books.
Walked into the classroom every single day saying,
I am the future.
I am the future.
I am the future.
I
am the future.
I am the future.
I am the future.
I am the future.
I am the future.
I am the future.
That's when I took notice
of the teacher who cared
and the business person who shared
everything I needed to know about how to dress to impress,
write my resume,
and pave the way to future success.
Now I'm going to college to be the next.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dolores Garcia Blocker, and I am the Executive Director of Post-Secondary Success and Alternative Programming for Hartford Public Schools. And I have the pleasure of introducing our moderator for our work-based learning panel. His name is Dave Smith, and Dave Smith has 25 plus years of corporate operations management experience. For the past 11 years, he has been at Pratt & Whitney. Dave grew up in Waterbury, attended Waterbury Public Schools, and work-based learning was very much an integral part of his schooling as youth. And because of that, he has, risen through the various positions that he has had and really understands how to connect that work to education and truly understands how it has helped him be the person that he is today. And you can see from the agenda, he is currently the Director of Aftermarket for North America and Turkey at Pratt & Whitney. And so I know Dave and have had the pleasure of working with Dave for the past 2 years that I've been in Hartford, because he is an amazing board chair. He is the board chair of the Industry Advisory Board for the Academy of Engineering and Green Tech at Hartford Public High School. Dave?
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Blocker. I appreciate that kind words. And thank you for this convening, Ready CT, Shannon and your entire team. Looking forward to this. I think it's timely. And really nice hearing from the administrators, Dr. Rodriguez, Torres Rodriguez, Nancy, and Nathan. Your words were very appropriate. And by the way, Nancy, you followed well. You provided great context of what I think is the very essence of the NAF is the structure. And so we'll convene. A great panel has been assembled to walk us through some of the conversation that, I think is top of mind around this subject matter. So, I'll jump right in. We'll have opportunity, we're going to talk about what you'll see me smile a lot. And the times I'll probably smile the most is when it gets to our kids, because that's what's near and dear. And Dr. Blocker mentioned, I often say you have to see it to be it. And when I think about our kids, I can always see myself. And that's what resonates. I can always see me at a sophomore year. I can see me at a freshman year. I can see the decisions and how important it is that we can provide that for our kids and direction. So jump right in. We've got a number of panelists. We've got Jocelyn Donowski from KPMG. We've got Jason Howie from OK Industry. We've got Marlo Propone and HRA, Alex Martinez, the Travelers, and former NAF alum. And then we have also with us Dean Marshall from American Eagle. I'll give each of them an opportunity to introduce themselves. I've already been introduced, but Dr. Blocker spoke to some of the things that are really passionate for me. But I asked, because we have some good questions for the conversation, that each one sort of keep it tight, but maybe a quick introduction of who they are, what brings them to this conversation. and just a little bit, maybe how long they've been with their company and their roles. So I'll start with Jocelyn.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn Janalski. I'm an audit partner in our KPMG Hartford office. I have been passionate about being involved in the community, and as such, I've been sitting on the Weaver High School Advisory Board for Insurance and Finance. With that role, I've really been focused on expanding our internship opportunities for those students. We have about 50 students this summer that need internships. And as such, my firm has been working nationally with NAF and other corporate partners throughout the community nationally. And with that, I was able to bring that context and program to the Hartford office. And so we're going to be, along with two collaborators, and NAF and ACT, we're going to be starting the first Weaver High School Future Ready Lab with students, and we'll be taking on 25 of those students this summer. And it's really, the Future Ready Lab, for those that don't know, is really a scalable internship. So we're able to open a number of additional opportunities to these students that maybe wouldn't have been there in other years. So I'm really excited about that. And that's really why I'm here today.
Thank you. Thank you. And Jason?
Good morning, everybody. Jason Howie, President and CEO of OK Industries. I've been heavily involved with New Britain school systems. I helped launch the Healthcare Academy actually more than 10 years ago. And more recently, the Manufacturing, Engineering, and Technology Academy. And it's, why am I here? Well, number one, it's just, I really believe and feel very strongly about our New Britain community, but also I think it's very important educators know is we need you. Before the pandemic, there was more than 12,000 manufacturing jobs left unfilled in Connecticut. Just think about that. So we can't grow and we can't do the things if we don't have the right workforce. And I will tell you that the three things that keep me up at night in terms of growing and competing globally is workforce, workforce, and workforce. So a lot of people from an education standpoint, they look at the students, the students and the parents are the customer. But I would really encourage you also to think about the businesses are also the customer, because we need people that are ready so that we can drive and thrive in the future. Pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you. And Marlo.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marlo Grappone, and I'm the Executive Director of HRA of New Britain. So naturally, I'm with the New Britain Academy of Finance. I've been the chair for the Academy of Finance since its inception. So many hats and so many roles, but as a business partner and a leader of the Community Action Agency, we saw the opportunity to partner with the school district here in New Britain to really put in place a program that would help students of minorities, populations, students who really need that extra boost, right, to help better themselves. And that of course drew me instantly. Just like Dave, I love to see the students focusing on positive efforts and self-improvement. And I strive to be a role model for them. So this was a perfect opportunity for me. I also happened to be a parent at the time that the Academy was established at the New Britain High School. Both of my children attended New Britain High School. So as a parent, I understood the value that NAF brings to the experience to the students at the high school. And again, as a community partner, our role was to bring in the first and largest of its kind in the state, on-site volunteer income tax assistance program for youth. And we did that in order to provide what was in the early stages of a lab, a future ready lab. But we put those on-site services in place so that the youth would have an opportunity to prepare taxes for their peers, so that they could learn a trade that they wouldn't have normally been exposed to, and so that they could have an opportunity to develop some leadership skills that are transferable for their future. So, I'm really excited to be here today and to share this along with these wonderful panelists. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you. And Alex Martinez?
Hi there, everybody. My name is Alex Martinez. I've been with Travelers Insurance for 5 years, and I'm also a member of our early in career IT pipeline program, the Technology Leadership Development Program, where I'm currently working in our personal insurance technology organization. I also currently sit on the industry advisory board for the Pathways Academy of Technology and Design, which also happens to be the academy, as Dave said, that I graduated from myself back in 2014. So thank you so much for having me today.
Glad to have you, Alex. And Dean, I'd like to hear from you.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Welcome and thanks for making the investment in this time. I think it's really important. I think you already heard from Nate. I'm the president and CEO of American Eagle Financial Credit Union based in East Hartford for the past 85 years, and we've had a supporting role with the Academy of Finance at East Hartford High School for 21 plus years by having a local branch and annually being able to install interns at that location every year. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Well, now that we've met all the panelists, let's get down to some questions. You know, I'm going to start with Jason. You know, Jason, you run a business, and you mentioned the things that keep you up. I will tell you, as a large company at Pratt and RTX, that keeps us up too. You know, we often find that, you know, we have to reach across the entire country sometimes to get talent. But that's a bigger challenge when you're looking for what we call our production associates. We can go get engineers from California, we can get IT folks, but there's a big challenge because one, they're not rooted here. So we get them early and they're right out of college, but then when it's time for them to settle down and get married, they go home and they leave us. And so we want to home grow the talent. And so talent is on top of mind for us all the time as well. But maybe you can just share with us, like, you know, what skills do you think are critical for these students as they come out and are entering the workforce? You know, because we have a lot of educators and administrators on site. What's most critical that you see that they need?
That could be obviously a very, very long list, but I mean, you know, a lot of the soft skills, you know, just in terms of, you know, showing up at work, you know, how do you have courageous conversations? How do you have that dialogue? How do you engage, you know, your peers? You know, teamwork and collaboration are incredibly critical, but it's also about, you know, really understanding, and I think this is where businesses really have a responsibility, is making the link between what they're actually doing at school in terms of how it applies to the workforce. And a great example I use is a lot of people take trigonometry, and people say, why do I need to take trigonometry? I don't even know what it is. Well, you know what? We have lots of people here at OK Industries that use it every single day. And so making that connection between what they're actually doing in school and actually how it's actually applied in the workforce is critical. So I think the workforce, early workforce, you know, being actually at a workplace and working is absolutely critical to the success.
All right, thanks. And Jocelyn, you mentioned it early on, this Future Ready Lab. And now, part of my career, I worked in pharmaceuticals. So when I heard Future Ready Lab, I was picturing, you know, lab coats and beakers and stuff like that. But that wasn't the case at all. So help us a little better understand the Future Ready Lab and maybe what your experience at KPMG was when you guys launched this initially.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, nationally, we launched this initiative, I guess, about 5 or 6 years ago, and we've been doing it in several different markets, primarily some of the larger markets. So I'm really excited to be able to bring it to Hartford. And really the lab it's a virtual, well, this year will be virtual. They have done them in person in the past. They did virtual last year as well, but it really works out well virtually. It's a virtual, you know, internship. The students get paid. They come to the classroom. They have work-based learning opportunities. They work on a project of value. So KPMG comes out nationally with a project of value, which is really a hot topic in the industry. And we ask these students to sort of solve this problem together. They compete, they come up with these amazing ideas, things that we would not think about. And that's really, that brings the value to KPMG. We get these students to know more about KPMG, more about the other companies that are collaborating with us. But we also get their ideas, and we also are able to bring, our KPMG employees to help support this. and that actually creates additional retention for our employees and things like that. So just a really great opportunities to team with the students, to learn from them, they learn from us, and hopefully eventually they'll come and work for KPMG.
Yeah. And so just so you know, at Pratt, you know, at RTX, we're launching that at Pratt this year with the Academy at Hartford Public High. And I will tell you, you know, we took a shot at it last year, but the pandemic kind of sidelined it. But we're back on track this year. But I think the encouraging thing was the enthusiasm that our folks at Pratt had when they heard that we could have high school students engage with them. And so we're planning to bring on about 17 for that program this year. But we've been looking closely at how you guys have done it at KPMG. So really good work there. Appreciate you sharing that. Marlo, you mentioned a number of things. You're a parent, you're an activist. But you sort of straddle this, I think, important balance between, you know, the industry and the community, sort of with education as well. And so I would ask you, you know, when it's time to sort of influence, you know, trade. So what policies or do you think maybe, you know, maybe it's a district or whether it's statewide, that folks should be thinking about for successful academies and programming, you know, that will drive the kind of flexibility? Because I think there may be opportunities there, but I'd like to hear your thoughts on, because you've had some years of doing this and working with these organizations. What are your thoughts?
Yes. Again, the NAF Academy, it provides such a wonderful structure for the students and the faculty to see how there can be a continuation, you know, from beginning to end, how they could set a path for success once they're coming into the school. But I think that a focus on really rolling that back earlier into the exposure for the students. So making sure that this is made available from the time that they're in elementary school and preschool even, and engaging the families so that they can have a really good understanding of what the value of this opportunity is to their child. Because again, success starts at home. So let's not forget that there's a family wrapped around that child. And so when we engage the parents early on together with the children, that also helps the success. So I think that the policies that should continue to develop, because I know that in our academy and those across the state, that parent involvement is a key factor, right, in ensuring the success of the students that are currently involved. But we need to do more about developing further so that we can get families in when we're recruiting, so that we can help them to really understand what this opportunity is about for their children, and so that they can then support them in the ways that they can from home so that they can be successful throughout the end. Something else in relation to policies is ensuring that you know, the structure of the opportunity is flexible enough for all students to participate. Again, because when we're talking about equity and inclusion, there's always barriers involved. Having been a student that grew up in poverty, you know, I know that there's so much going on in the background of your life that sometimes the school systems don't have an opportunity to understand. I was a student that, you know, had talent, and, you know, so I wasn't looked at as someone that had issues or, you know, needed other supports. So, you know, don't be deceived by what's right on the surface when it comes to the youth and the families. You know, really dig deeper, offer more supports, even when it doesn't appear as if they're needed, because they truly are. You know, they're coming from a place where they're experiencing barriers, and they're disproportionately applied to them because of, you know, having low income, or neighborhoods where they live, family issues, or community issues, you know, structural issues that are oppressing them. And so let's not forget that. So as long as we put those things in place, I think that we can really see a lot more success for our youth, and we're here to help with that as community partners.
All right, thank you. All right, and Dean, I'm going to tap into sort of your exposure because you work with the chambers, and so you probably get insights from other industries or other businesses, and through that broader conversation. So similar to what I asked Jason, I wonder, maybe you can weigh in on, what are some of the skills or critical needs you think that the schools would be, if they were cognizant of, can help better prepare the students when we receive them, for these entry level jobs.
Right. Well, I think that Nate already hit on it, but I thank you, David, for the opportunity. I just think that our connection point with the schools and with business and industry is really, really important. And I think that the personal aspects that folks get out of our particular Academy of Finance, you can't be successful in life without some baseline. Let's agree there's huge deltas in financial literacy everywhere. Our organization as a nonprofit credit union is about trying to help people with financial literacy. So I think that's a real connection point. I think the other connection point is we're a relatively small business and we're a local employer, as you know, and we're just as concerned about the pipeline and having people of talent. The two things that we hit on here is any improvement that we can make in terms of financial literacy, and especially because of the rigor associated with the Academy of Finance, is going to be available and helpful to students, regardless of whether they continue a financial services career. So those are the key points. I think that you mentioned chambers of commerce. I think that my role, and I think that anybody who's on an advisory board for any of these academies, has to take under their wing a lot of other business connections like chambers, rotaries, other parts of the ecosystem that we're in for businesses and community to be able to bring folks on. And I sense that, and we're continue to try and build on those strong connections. So I try to use some influence. We did one event with our local chamber that was really helpful to us. It gave some exposure to the Academy of Finance. And I think they're really challenged there because it's not a complete school that's an academy, but I think it helped to create some great connections and future opportunities. So that's kind of how I see that strong connection there. We have had success with being able to onboard, and we're just as concerned about the talent pipeline. The other comment that I heard too, and I think is important, is that there's a balance here. We want to make sure we get the work-based education and that knowledge, but we also do need the soft skills in our businesses, no matter what business that is. So I find that is the type of students that come out of our Academy of Finance and through the exposure of the internship have an opportunity to experience a taste of both of those and how you need equal amounts of those to be successful.
Yeah, that's good. I've got to pick up on the point you made about the ecosystem, because that's sort of where we all sit, right? No matter what product we're making or customers we're servicing, we need skilled employees and we need that pipeline to be rich. I had the opportunity to participate in some discussions while the governor's task force was looking at sort of revamping the workforce strategy over the summer last year. And what became very, very clear early on, we're in the middle of COVID or the early phases of it, was the level of impact that's going to be seen by folks. I think the number was folks making, $40,000 or less. It was just astronomical. And guess what? The students that we're serving oftentimes disproportionately will fall in that category. So that's what's being displaced, and that's their families, their parents, their older ones in their families. So that's a burden these kids coming out of school many will need to enter the workforce. And so how we have an ecosystem that supports them and enables them is critically important. And I like the point you make about not just being so laser focused on what's our special interest, but understanding that we've got a dual responsibility to support the entire network of talent. Appreciate that. And Alex, we didn't forget you, by the way. And Alex is, I'm always pleased to hear alums talk about their experience. So I'd like you to share with us, if you would, please, how is your experience as a NAF Academy, student and now sitting on the board? How has that impacted your life? And then maybe your reasoning as to why you wanted to serve on the board, Alex.
Yeah, so as an alum of Pathways Academy, I find it important to engage as a board member for my former school because of the immediate value that I feel that I can bring to the early and career perspective. It was only 10 or I guess almost 11 years ago now that I started as a freshman at Pathways, and the experiences, ideas, and even the emotions that I felt as I transitioned from high school to college and then from college to the workforce are still fresh in my mind, or at least I like to think they are. I also feel that, being an alum, I may have a deeper understanding of my school's core values and goals and how those might align to a successful college and career beyond. So, being able to look back on my time with the school, I can not only just make suggestions to the school, but I can also interact and mentor with students in a meaningful way. And I feel that, my engagement with the school, the biggest thing that I get out of it is being able to see the change in students. I love being able to see what new things the school is doing. I love to joke all the time with the folks that are at the school, like, oh, I wish I had this when I was here. And I really love cultivating that feeling and making it better and better. So that's where a lot of my energy comes from in continuing to engage with not just Pathways but any NAF Academy.
Okay. I think we're getting close on time. If not, I'm probably there. But one last question I wanted to ask, and I wanted to ask it to, thank you, Alex, to Jason. Jason, we often think about how industry can help the academics, right? The schools, and think about it. And I often hear that there's a disconnect, that, education doesn't understand what's going on today in industry. Is there a role you think we can play, and maybe how we can help bridge that gap if we think it exists?
From a business perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the first thing that the process that I did when we actually started the healthcare academy was actually having the education system educate business leaders about what the education system is really like, its challenges. I mean, let's put it this way, like I told Nancy, and I know some of her predecessors, you couldn't pay me enough to be a superintendent at a school today. It's just amazingly complex. But so I think it's education both way about how do those two systems work, and then looking for ways that they can partner. Certainly curriculum is a very, very big way that they can actually do that. And so they're applying what they're actually in school in terms of a real life work experience. I think it's just a huge connection for the kids. That's how the kids really get it. But then there's just other way in terms of looking at other barriers. For manufacturing, as you know, Dave, it's expensive. So we actually had a lab in New Britain that was, if you walked in a couple of years ago, it was 1940s vintage. You go in there today, it's total transformation. Just with business leading the way, with the Community Foundation of Greater New Britain and others, and we've raised already almost $500,000 to actually invest in new equipment. And that is not just the latest and greatest technology, which kids just they flock to, and they actually pick it up much better than people who've been in the industry for a long time. So again, I think it's just exposure as well as that getting involved in the curriculum.
All right, thank you. And one last question, and this is going to Alex. Alex, why is it important that industry and community get involved and stay involved with this? Because you lived it.
Yeah, so industry engagement in schools is critical to, a school's ability to prepare its students for the future. Plain and simple. As industry partners, we of course want what's best for the students, in any case, but we also want to make sure that they have an understanding of what we have to offer, and that they feel prepared to make that leap into not only our industries but into the future workforce. So, a small anecdote about me: how many high school students do you know that are super pumped to go work in insurance after being done with school? Probably not a lot of them, but it's through examples, the things that Pathways, for example, gave to me. I was able to work at a very similar company to Travelers when I was 16 and at Pathways, and through that experience, I was able to figure out, hey, this is something that I can do. I actually like doing this. I knew that I was interested in technology, but I had never considered a career in the industry, in the insurance and financial services industry before. So I think it's just so important that we be engaged in schools, because it's through that students understand what's possible afterwards. We just want to subvert expectations and to give them the things that they need to succeed. And whether that's help with college, what kind of things they want to major in, or what kind of jobs are even out there. We're always open to talking to students about that. And as I said before, a lot of the energy that I get is through mentoring students, and I love being able to help them on that journey.
All right. Well, thank you. you have actually, you've modeled the way and is a shining example of, what can be done. And you're one of many, thousands throughout the country that have gone through the NAF journey and its landed successes. So thank you. Thanks to all of the panelists for your excellent input and your comments. I really appreciate your time and your feedback this morning in this discussion. All right. So we're gonna transition. Now, we've talked about the students and we've kind of heard about, the different pathways. We heard from the administrators and folks in industry. But, Ready CT, who has done a great job putting this whole thing together for us, is also, put on a very short video to sort of introduce you or share some of the activity, because real work is being done by these academies. And so I'll offer that. We're going to take a look at that now. It's about 3 minutes, so take a look. But thank you again for your time. It's been a pleasure.